So this is a bearing puller.
Yeah.
Is this a specialized Bernina tool?
Nope. No, a lot of the tools I have. Now we're playing trick 25 here. Okay, and that's going to use one of those guys. Okay. I didn't put those away, so.
I've done similar things with deep well sockets.
Yeah.
So basically it's a tube, and he's got that bolt on there that goes clear through it, and that tube is sitting around the bearing, and as he tightens that up, it's just going to pull that bearing
Here my
straight
son
out.
would ride me a little bit. Dad, how come you don't have a snap-on torque tool for that? He's a snap-on guy. He's the oldest boy, as I mentioned, is a engineer. He's called the engineering steward in the transmission business unit at Caterpillar. So he's the last word from prototype to manufacturing. He was at one point the lead design engineer in the dozer division, and got an MBA, and that may qualified him to be a business manager there, to manage the transmission business unit and act as a senior mentor. So he's 47, and the youngest boy, middle son, works for T.D. Williamson. That's a pipe pigging company in Salt Lake. The youngest boy is a field service mechanic, a journeyman Caterpillar field service mechanic. So he's the one with all the snap-on tools. He buys me snap-on for Christmas, and pretty soon that's going to be snap-on stupid press. But I appreciate the nicer tools, but I sure don't want to pay the price for it. Not that kind of
It's
thing.
a good Christmas present.
Yeah, they mean a lot to me. And
Just want to get down inside that and see.
bearing's tight. Just enough. It is sometimes the case where you'll see a mark here where the frame journal, after it was made, does not quite align with the front bearing journal. And technician in the factory, when this, he's a specialist in this case, will take the certain kinds of tools and change the cylindrical axis so that another tool in there. Probably something I need to find. I realize
Maybe your magnetic thing will get it out easily.
I kind of crammed down there a little bit tighter. I don't think it's coming out that way. There we are. You see it cracked all the way around. See that?
For which I am grateful more than once a day.
You had some back issues too?
No, I haven't, and I'm very grateful. Because one thing,
I see what
I
you're
work
saying.
mostly with older people,
Oh, yeah.
and it makes you realize what a blessing each day that you get up and you walk through it upright without pain is.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone realizes that.
Look on the inside. You can see oil grooves.
Yeah.
You have a little socket. I'm going to get one in just a moment.
This is a cross
They
head
have a
bearing.
sintered bronze kind of a filter through them. So when you fill them up, it takes about a day for oil to go through it. So we're going to lubricate the bearing when we go in, but this drops in the machine and it fits in here. And you have your cap on top like that, so you can add lubricant periodically. Okay. The bearing itself, the kind of cast iron it is a bearing material. Graphite in it. And so it's kind of it'll lubricate even dry. But because you have the molybdenum surfaces on the shaft, it's a standard 15, so this is the bearing's oversized. We'll put this back in. What we'll use to put it in is a punch. Like that. We have to make sure this is up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
These bearings came out of the quilting machines I built. They were brand new. And what I didn't do is when I when I did the Henniker or the Legacy machines, I didn't use bushing. I used needle. The first ones I used 2 racks of needle bearings permanently lubricated with Kluber NCA 15. And see why I need big hammers. So, it goes in fairly easy. There we are. Hmm. 75. 5 thousandths. About 2 millimeters, which is about 80 thousandths. Okay. So the punch on the inside. So now we'll just knock it a little bit. This. See before, no, I moved way too much. Okay.
Got to sneak up on it.
No, well, the thing is we can, that's all I have to do here now. Pull that out and take this, pull it back out, or this tool. There. Come on. And then put it in front end and knock it where it's supposed to go, and then we're done. So here is not going to take much, so in this case, I'm going to use a smaller hammer.
What fixes that? Is it just a friction fit? Like sort of,
You have a screw right there.
Gotcha.
See, the thing is, you have a groove here on the take-up for the take-up lever. Down in here, it's a guide.
Mm-hmm.
And that take-up lever, you know, I can make some sort of adjustment here on this thing, but not much. And so I can be within a few thousandths, like within, I don't know. Oh, come on. Perfecto. We're at roughly a little over slightly over 2 millimeters. We're well within the range. So we can make an adjustment. Let's tighten the screw here. And we are done with that. So we're ready to assemble. Next we're going to have to clean the parts and then go ahead and assemble. I've got to change my shirt. It's getting warm.
Is that did you make that tool?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I've done to make assembly easier for me. One is the factory unit. They never had things like that for, when I worked on machines and so forth. They had something else. And you can see here, this is important to know. This is good to see. You can see how these go together. But if we take this and we'll take this one undone. See, screwdrivers are old Bauman tools, but I had to regrind them. And right here, there's a snap ring on it, or a clip anyway. And I have a tool for that. It's right here. So we'll take this one off. This. Okay. Now you're gonna pull this apart if we can get it out. Okay, now we're gonna, to get this out, because that's where it's stuck, we're gonna put this in here and wiggle that back and forth. Okay, I need to finish the vise and take the jaws out and grind them. And you like this vise over here? I brought that back from Switzerland.
Yeah, I like vices. I have a nice Kurt on my, and then I have a vintage leg vise, blacksmith vise.
Yeah.
That's one of my main tools, actually.
Yeah.
Beating on things, heating them up.
Well,
I use vintage Co's wrenches, monkey wrenches. Not as wrenches, but as bending tools. They're really good for. They're terrible wrenches, but they're very good bending tools.
yeah. Well, it's like these. I make these. This one is from the factory. One of the last chief mechanic I had when I finished my apprenticeship. He stole these off the factory assembly line and brought them because that's where he was working at the time, and then brought them here for use. And so he used them, and so showed me how to use them. And anyway, that's a vintage Swiss factory line tool. But I use a lot of tools for bending. It would be like this or these. These are made of 4130 chromoly, and then they're heat treated and hardened, and then tempered down to about 42 to 44 Rockwell C. And a very durable tool. So you have a lot of special tools that I use for different kinds of things. And okay, let's get busy here on that. There. First thing we're going to do is get rid of some of this stuff here. And you'll be able to see a lot of this junk disappear on here.
And this is lacquer thinner right now.
Lacquer thinner first. And let me get a couple of brushes. That one, for example, is good. So we'll loosen all this. This guy is sticking in here, so we're going to have to get that loose. And be very careful getting it out. Okay, and that comes off there. So yeah, just cleaning this in here to hold up some of the lacquer thinner and stuff. That's one there, that one there, this, and here, yeah, we'll put, have a brand new part. And
So you're cleaning the Cosmoline off.
yeah, and this one comes off pretty easy with solvent too, just
Yeah.
standard mineral spirits, but this cuts it quicker. And you got a part that looks new.
Yep.
You can see that this is an eccentric here. And it's adjustable. You can turn that, and that's a needle position adjustment in the connecting rod here as it connects to the needle bar. Okay, we'll show you a little bit more about that here in a minute.
What grit is that?
That's pretty fine. It's probably about 800, something like that.
So the only nylon gears in the 217 would be for the ornamental.
Well, they're actually made of Delrin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but just in the ornamental mechanism. So this machine doesn't have any.
Yeah, this doesn't have the ornamental. On that one, that's what this guy is for. This drives it. This is in here. This is, we're going to put it back in the machine. You'll never use it until you have you see this shaft? That's an eccentric shaft. It's an adjustable shaft here. And that's why you have the philoster in the back.
Is that the Scotch-Brite wheel?
No, it's another kind. It's kind of like Scotch-Brite. It's a hard wheel though. And anyway, this is a Kratex wheel. Oh, that one won't work on there anyway. Okay, this will still work here. And keep in mind that this screw here holds the spring down there, and this is your adjustment screw. So we'll look underneath that and make sure that the everything underneath the spring. So hold it open, blow it out. Oh, look at that. Big chunk of stuff came out of there. It keeps the spring from collapsing, from going down on, it just still doesn't look good. Now when you go home and you are getting near an ICU and you see somebody that's intubated on a ventilator, you can see what they're doing. And I did IV catheters. I did a trocar for Bard. I did IV catheter, did for Becton Dickinson. And anyway, that tarnish is from fingerprints. Okay, so we're going to fix all that. So we're going to polish this in the direction of where the thread's actually contacting the material, and put a zero finish on it. And actually, it's interesting here because the finish I'm putting on it is not, it's still a little gray, which is unusual. And that means that whatever was on the casing went deep into the steel. Thread slides over the surface, so it has to be very, very clean. And now we want to make sure we don't have any too much junk in there that affect us. Okay.
Is there a big wad of thread in there as well?
There was some underneath it. No,
Underneath the spring.
underneath the spring, so the spring couldn't compress the thread between the spring and the body. And So here we've got just some rust on the inside. Yeah. Put that there and take the spring here, look at it. You see where the stuff was, it's collected water, so it made a little rust bump. That's not where the, right here you can see a little wear line right in here where the thread goes. So this is spring, nothing wrong with the spring any. We can put it back together. So you have one screw that's pretty cheap, that's this one. None of them are cheap, but I mean, because they're really small. Little teensy screws are expensive. Put in place there. The screw, the filter's very shallow in this one. Been abused a little bit. Here we go.
So the first one just is the one that holds the spring, and the second one that you're putting in is the adjuster.
Yeah, but somebody's put in the wrong kind of screws here, because this screw is supposed to have a very thin slot, a cross cut through it, and this is the wrong screw. This is a screw, this is actually one of these screws. So what we're going to do is take this screw out, because it's damaged, the head of it's damaged, and we're going to put this one in its place. These two screws are identical, actually. So somebody lost a screw and they went to get another screw, and that was all they could get. So here, let's get one of these screws, and you can see the crosses cut in those. They're expanding screws. Can you see that?
Yes, at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yep. Slit.
These are really expensive. And you can't.
Now, when I switch different, because I'll use like the heavier thread on some things, and then I'll use like just a normal Gutermann sew-all on others. Should I get a weight and retension it?
You can make your own weights. If it's sewing well, then you can figure out what kind of weight you want for that thread. That's what I would do. Whoop. A little bit loose.
So you want it sort of spins on its own.
I will show you how to set tension. There's a lot of people say, you set tension like this, like a yo-yo?
Yeah.
Oh, what does that get you?
Well, actually, what I do is I stitch, and if it looks right.
Well,
but before you get to that point, there's something you do.
Wrap thread around my finger like this, but I want to have happen. When tension is set right, hold it like this, with this tension weight, with this particular thread, which is this thread is a long staple polyester, I think. Yeah, this is it's awful fuzzy though.
Is it similar to Gutermann sew-all?
No, this is thread, which was the gauge thread for the hand quilter machine. And anyway, and this thread is imported from Japan. It's a long staple polyester, very strong, and it's usually very, very smooth. This thread's been sitting out for quite a while, so it's not as smooth as it should be. Anyway, so I pull off about a foot, and I put my two fingers together with about 1/8 of an inch apart. And then as I go like this, that bobbin case should fall gently. And as I stop, it should stop. If I do this, what does that get me? You know, a person could go like that and goes wham on the floor. Oh, I got to tighten the tension. Or a person goes like this. You know, they do it and it doesn't hardly move. There's no way of accurately gauging the tension. You'll find on the YouTube videos and this kind of thing that's how they do it. But if a person simply takes their fingers 1/8 of an inch apart, everybody can do that. and you get about the same vibration. I'm gonna have to let that guy out of here. Just like that. As he falls gently, and as I stop, it stops. That's when it's set right. Domestic machines are the same, except on your Bernina 730, you use the hook body in the machine as your tension weight. It's nearly the same weight as that. And that's for CB hooks. That's for all domestic machines, all the domestic CB hook machines.
So what do we use for the 730?
The hook body in the machine. You snap it on the bobbin case and away you go.
Oh, so just as if you were going to
You wanna
sew with
pull
it, but
thread.
you haven't put it in, and you pull
Yeah.
some out, and
On the end of the spring, you have this gap here.
yeah.
And you want to pull thread from side to side, make sure it pulls evenly, tension on that side as that side. Okay. So, bobbin case is ready to go. Let's get the hook ready to go, and then let's start installing things. Here, I'm going to take the hook here. This is kind of, man, that's grooves is deep. I've never seen one that deep. These screws are special, and hopefully we're going to get them so that we're going to put them in the opposite, hopefully the opposite side. Take that apart there. Yep. This comes off. Then we have a spring ring, and we've got a couple of screws in here. These are kind of banged up too, but they'll work. Yeah. They're not too bad. There's a lot of junk in them. We'll take the gib off, and the gib is a newer gib. We're going to polish it. Right here, on this side here, this groove here is, they used to be rounded like that, but it's easier for thread to slide over that surface than that. So we're going to polish that up. And we've got the spring ring here. And this comes out like that. Here, then we'll clean this. Raceway, inner race. Okay. Now we're going to take a tool over here and just mount it. Use one of the screws again. Now, what we're going to do is when we polish, we want to polish in the direction that the thread flows on the hook. Okay? So, this surface got some grooves in it. So the thread can, and that's from the improper mounting of the stop fork as it came in. It went in too deep. It was actually touching that. That's why that's that way. And we're looking right here. This is called a needle guard. The needle will go behind that, and it keeps the needle from getting deflected in front of the hook point. We're going to look at the hook point here. Examine that carefully. And there's damage on that, so we're going to fix that quickly. And the point has been banged up a bit. We can get away with a little bit of stoning, but what we have to do when we use the stone on there, on this side, to clean this side up, we're going to have to go like this at a slight angle, like that, to stone that. we never want to stone it this way because it'll put a negative angle on the point. Okay, it won't pick up thread. It'll ruin the hook totally. So right here, we want to remove some damage on the. It's not too bad. I guess we can probably get away with it. But let's go ahead and fix the point, and let me get a stone over here.